very strange things are happening. Life is becoming a raw material, an object for engineering. It's time to rethink life, or more accurately, what life is and the methods employed to deal with this contestable material for manipulation. And so it goes, claiming that something has a liveness or aliveness is no longer a metaphor. Art no longer acts as a mode of representation, but becomes a process of creation. The art itself is alive, perhaps. Tools that allow for us to manipulate this material are varied. Tissue culture allows for the growth of cells in artificial environments. Synthetic biology allows for designers to program material, creating new organisms that might be used for radical purposes, such as in architecture, or conducting electricity, or even emitting light. And now platforms such as CRISPR-Cas9 provide an increasingly inexpensive and versatile way to make changes to the genome. All of these activities lead to a similar outcome, the ability to create new subjects and unique transgenic beings. Already these developments have provided the signposts through which to navigate a genealogy of genetic manipulation, from Vacanti's mouth, Alba, the luminescent GFP bunny, Dolly, the clone sheep, and Cynthia, Venter's synthetic life, all given names so as to normalize and make acceptable their new forms. Each are unsettling, but oddly familiar. What is important tonight is understanding the cultural and social process that has led to the creation of these new subjects. As we become exposed to the variety of trans-species creatures, that we are left wondering how we might have to incorporate them into a post-human society. These transgenic entities both mimic and possibly transcend certain biological forms. These non-human morphologies slowly become the new norm through which life is experienced. So, what becomes of us? What becomes of the human? Well, this is not a project of eugenics. Let's make that very clear. Nor is it driven by a desire to recreate the human in the image and likeness of. No, that project is the project of simulation, and that's the domain of AI research, whose yardstick for deciding whether something is live or not is still very much intimately tied with the notions of intelligence and perhaps consciousness. So in contrast, the project of creating, manipulating, and exploring this contested term life is instilled with the hopes and fears of us, humans, who harbor these hopes and these fears when the species boundary is suddenly exposed as being fluid. There's a concern that these tools might engineer the human away from natural selection towards a process in which we mechanically select desired traits. But is that necessarily a bad thing? And let's not forget that humans have always been transgenic. We contain DNA of other organisms, so perhaps it's time to recognize that our fluid species boundary isn't such an odd thing. Already the potential medical application of this technology suggests the possibility of organ transspeciation and xenotransplantation. In other words, the trafficking of organs between humans and, say, pigs. This might offer life-saving possibilities, and indeed, a lot of these biotechnologies that we'll come to talk about tonight have captured the imagination of the general public because of this dominant narrative that we might soon be able to grow organs. So when will this all happen? Perhaps when pigs fly. Well, already a member of this panel has already attempted to render the reality of the latter. But long live the new flesh, the new technological body, and let's explore tonight life on a spectrum of possibilities. Dare I, at this point, mention Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? Well, unlike the monster, the creations of a 21st century Prometheus might not be so quickly rejected. So what does it mean to be able to build with life? What are the philosophical and the ethical issues that arise from these new approaches? What are the implications of presenting living art in this context? Where are the new boundaries between life and non-life? How can these technologies change our understanding of what it means to be alive and living? And what care must be taken over the life that is created? So to answer all of these questions, or perhaps none of these questions, are my fantastic panel this evening.